3 days into a solo backpacking trip, a boy at a roadside stall stared at the soft part of my neck, dragged 2 fingers across his own throat, and whispered the name of the next village like he was warning a dead man. I laughed. I actually laughed. I thought it was a joke about the food being spicy, or about the road being rough, or about something I'd never understand because I spoke maybe 20 words of the local language. I gave him a coin for a piece of fruit and got back on the minibus. I'd taken that minibus past the last paved road because my hostel host swore the inland waterfalls were safer than the city. He said it twice, safer than the city. I wanted one cheap day of photos before my flight home. I was the kind of traveler who bragged about going where tourists didn't go. I hadn't told anyone back home my updated route because I wanted the trip to feel like mine. That is the detail I keep coming back to. I wanted it to feel like mine. The village sat at the bottom of a green bough, maybe 40 houses, 1 well, 1 guest house, 1 road in and the same road out. The minibus driver waited until I stepped down and then left so fast the dust hung up in the air for a full minute after he was gone. Nobody would look at my face. I noticed it slowly, the way you notice a smell you've been breathing for a while. An old man turned his head when I passed. A woman at the doorway of her house lowered her eyes to my chest. A group of men outside the small shop kept their gaze somewhere just under my jaw. Not my eyes, not my mouth, the soft part under the jaw. I tried to buy mangoes from a woman with a folding table at the corner. She took my money, weighed the fruit, and then very quietly pressed the coins back into my hand and slid the mangoes away. She did not speak. She didn't look up. I told myself it was a custom I didn't understand. The guest house owner was a small smiling man who spoke careful, slow English. He gave me a key and a clean room and a cold bottle of water and told me dinner was on him tonight, from his cousins down the road. He asked, gently, if anyone was expecting me back in the city tonight. I said no. He nodded like that was the right answer. The dinner came on a white tin plate. It was a stew with vegetables and some kind of meat, and I ate 2 bites before I stopped. The meat had been deboned. I've cleaned chicken and fish my whole life. I've watched butchers in 3 countries. There's a way you take bone out of an animal, and there's a way you take bone out of something that was put together differently. I'm not going to describe it. I covered the plate with a napkin and said I was tired. I left my boots on the porch the way I had every night that trip. In the morning, they were gone. In their place sat another pair, the same size, same brand, broken in a little more than mine had been. The insoles were still warm. I want to be honest, my first thought was not run. My first thought was someone made a mistake. I stood on that porch in my socks and tried to make sense of a thing that already made sense. The guest house owner came out, saw the boots, and smiled. He said his nephew must have switched them by accident. He said his nephew would bring mine back before lunch. He said it like he was telling me the weather. I put on the warm boots and walked toward the well to fill my bottle, because that is what people do when they're pretending. A teenage girl was drawing water there. She didn't look at me either, but as I passed her, she slipped a folded napkin into my back pocket. I felt it. I didn't react. I waited until I was in the trees on the slope above the village before I opened it. It was a crude map in charcoal. The road I came in on, a line cutting off through the trees, shorter, marked clearly. A second mark on that line, a small black square with an X through it. I almost wept with relief. Somebody was helping me. I went back for my bag, paid the guest house owner in full, smiled at him, told him I'd decided to head back early. He smiled back and said the road was long. He said it like a man reading a sentence he'd read many times before. I didn't take the shortcut. Something in me, some animal thing, did not want to walk on a path a stranger had drawn for me. I took the real road, the long road, the one the minibus had come in on. 20 minutes out of the village, a pickup truck appeared behind me. It did not pass. It crawled at my walking speed for almost half an hour. 3 men were in the bed. They did not speak. They didn't smoke. They didn't look anywhere except at my back. When the road bent into thick trees, I broke and ran. I ran badly, sideways into the brush, and I kept running until I couldn't hear the engine anymore. I came out into a clearing with a low concrete shed in the middle of it. There was a hook by the door, and on the hook was a backpack with a Canadian flag patch sewn onto the top flap. I had scrolled past that exact patch on a missing persons post the week before. I remembered the patch because I remembered thinking the guy looked like a friend of mine from college. The smell coming out of that shed is the only thing I will not talk about, ever, to anyone. I heard the truck doors slam on the road behind me, 2 slams, then a third. I looked down at the dirt under my boots and saw a thin worn trail leading out of the clearing in the opposite direction from the road, and I understood, finally, that the shortcut on the napkin and the path I was standing on now were the same path. The girl at the well had not been warning me. She had been steering me. The village hadn't been afraid of me knowing. The village had been afraid of me leaving the wrong way. I went into the trees on the side they wouldn't expect. The steep side, the side that hurt. I fell twice. I lost the bag. I kept the napkin. I got to a fuel station after dark. 1 pump, 1 light, 1 man inside, behind glass. I must have looked like something out of a ditch because he stood up the second he saw me. He let me in. Then he looked past me at the road I had come down, and without a word, he turned the key in the door behind me. He looked at my face for a long time. Then he said, in careful English, "You were not supposed to come back from that side." The water in my apartment had been out since lunch, and when it finally kicked back on at 2 in the morning, something climbed out of the kitchen tap before the water did. I was awake because I had left the faucet open on purpose. That's how everyone in my building knows the service is back. You hear the air spit, then the cough, then the rush. I work nights, and I'd been sitting at the kitchen counter eating cold rice straight from the container, waiting. When the spout started clicking, I leaned over to shut it. I didn't shut it. Something small dropped out of the metal lip and landed in the basin, and then the water came after it in a brown gush that smelled like a worm coin. The thing in my sink was pale and segmented wrong, too thick in the middle, ringed like a grub but longer, and it was moving the way a finger moves when you bend it slowly. I am not squeamish. I grew up rural. I know what worms look like. This wasn't one. I leaned closer because I wasn't sure what I was looking at. And that's when I saw the eyelash. A single human eyelash, stuck to the side of it, dark and curled. I have light hair. The man I'd been seeing has light hair. Nobody who'd been in my apartment in the last 2 months had an eyelash that dark. I want to say I called somebody right away, but I didn't. I sat there for a long time, with the water running clear over it, watching it try to crawl back up the drain. Then I took a picture, scooped it into a takeout container, and put the container in my freezer behind a bag of peas. I don't know why I kept it. I think I already understood that nobody was going to believe me without it. I texted the super in the morning. He answered the way he always does, that the pipes are old, that everybody on the line gets sediment, that I shouldn't drink it for a few hours. I told him about the worm. He didn't answer that part. He sent the thumbs up emoji to the earlier message and went quiet. The outages got longer, 4 hours, then 8, then a full day. I started filling the bathtub whenever water was on. The first time the supply came back after the long one, it ran warm and faintly pink for almost a minute before it cleared, like something upstream had been rinsed and was draining down. I stood at the sink with my hand under it and could not make myself move my hand away. I kept thinking, this is rust. People say rust. I said rust out loud to my empty kitchen. Then I went and checked the freezer to make sure the container was still there. The roaches came up through the shower drain a few nights later. Not 1 or 2, a group, fast, fanning out across the tile like they'd been pushed. I'd never seen roaches in this apartment. I killed what I could with a shoe and bleached the floor twice. One of them, when I picked it up in a paper towel to throw away, had something caught between its back legs. A sliver of painted fingernail. Pale pink polish, chipped on one side. I'm not a person who paints my nails. I filmed the tap the next time it came on. I was going to send it to the city's health line. I held my phone steady against the backsplash and let it run for 2 full minutes. When I watched the video back at work that night, I heard, faintly behind the sound of the water, 3 soft knocks from inside the wall behind my toilet. 3, spaced evenly, not pipes settling, not the building breathing. A rhythm. The health inspector came on a Thursday. He was older, polite, the kind of man who's seen everything and gets bored by complaints. He took one look at my sink, asked me a few questions, and then went down to the basement to check the riser axis. He was gone maybe 6 minutes. When he came back up, he was very calm and very pale. And he told me, in a voice you'd use with a child, to pack a small bag and step out into the hallway with him and not go back inside for anything I didn't absolutely need. I asked what he'd seen. He said, "Ma'am, please." Police tape was up across the lobby before I'd finished checking into the motel 2 blocks away. It took them a day and a half to get it out. By then, I'd heard enough from other tenants on a group chat I'd been added to that I understood the shape of it. A woman from the unit kitty corner and 1 floor above mine, missing about 11 days. Her boyfriend had told everyone she'd moved out, taken her stuff, gone to her sister's. He still lived there. He was the one, the super finally admitted, who had helped him snake a clog in the riser the night the outages started. The 2 of them, together, at 1 in the morning. I went back briefly to grab clothes once the tape came down. The kitchen tap, when I tested it, ran clean. Cold, clear, no smell. I almost cried at how ordinary it was. Then a single long dark hair slid out of the spout and curled into the basin and lay there pointing, very straight, at the wall I share with Unit 8. I packed faster after that. I was checking back into the hotel that night, standing at the front desk with my card out. When my phone buzzed, it was the building management's automated address, the one they use for fire drill notices and rent reminders. The subject line said non-emergency plumbing inspection. I opened it standing there at the counter with the clerk waiting for me to sign. Units 7 and 8 only. I'm 7, he's 8. The inspection was scheduled for tomorrow afternoon. A window I had not given anyone, on a day I had not told anyone I'd be home.